So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I've made a video or two about Pixel Gun 3D, and you know that I have a little beef with Pixel Gun 3D. Corn, if you might ask. But regardless of its incredibly flawed state, it was still a very big part of my childhood. And as it got older, things were added and things were removed. Some of those were justified and others were not. This game has had many phases over the 11 years of its existence. So I'm going to be talking about every removed item in Pixel Gun 3D in its current state. Before I do that, 6K subs, guys, really? This is what we're doing now? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's like 6,000, dude. That's crazy. It's amazing though, and I appreciate the support you guys have been giving me. But anyways, let's get on with the video. Cosmetics have existed in Pixel Gun ever since its multiplayer update. It's an essential part to pretty much most games, and so this one is no different. But over time, Pixel Gun started to remove some of them. So, let's see which items they removed. Helmets were added in the 8.1.0 update. They were pretty much like armor where they had various upgrades in different forms. You had your wooden helmet all the way up to your adamant helmet. According to the wiki, helmets were replaced with headgear that had their own unique abilities. You can actually get the adamant helmet as a skin in the game right now. I don't really remember too much about helmets, but they did look pretty cool. It was understandable that they removed them, but I wish they just applied those unique abilities from those headgears to the helmets, which would kind of give you a reason to upgrade or not upgrade, but it's completely understandable that they didn't. But yeah, it's a thing of the past, and hopefully they'll bring them back as skins in the future. Armor was added in the 8.1.0 update. I don't think I really need to explain what armor does. I think you all know. But every armor had 3 types before you upgraded to the next: light, medium, and heavy. The armor system in Pixel Gun is a bit weird now. The old armors don't exist, but they also do. And then there's a new set of armors that they released recently. So like my light armors have the light, medium, and heavy skins, but then the old armors that are now skins, I still have some of them. And then there's new armor that completely overshadows all of those. It's really weird. This is one of those examples where Pixel Gun didn't completely abolish the old system and just slapped a new one on top of it. So now the entire armor mechanic just doesn't make sense. Back then it was simple. Light armor had the lowest defense, medium was in the middle, and the heavy had the most. But now that entire system doesn't even matter, because now there's new armor that has unique abilities that are held by modules. The ones like Dev Armor, Inflatable Armor, and Dragon Armor completely overshadow the Wooden to Champion ones. So it's kind of hard to tell if it's completely removed, because you can't get it anymore if you don't have it, but if you do have it, you're able to keep it. I don't know, they really need to fix that entire armor thing. It's really confusing. Masks and hats have the same issue. Some of them exist as skins as well as being an actual item. If you didn't own the original item though, you can't get it. So like the headphones, the crown, and the afro, I'm not able to get because I didn't buy them when they were available. But they do show up as skins, which is kind of annoying since I'm trying to collect all the old items. And I know you're gonna say, oh, didn't you want them to abolish the old system? In which this one's a little different. Not all of the masks and hats are defense based, so I kind of don't really understand why they decided to remove them, even though they have new ones coming in. It was a lot better for newer players to get their hands on them too. And besides, the abilities are pretty much useless in the new architecture. It kind of sucks to see them removed, but who knows, maybe they'll bring them back. Maps are a very big part of Pixel Gun. We all know those very nostalgic ones, but as they made more and more, some of them were used less and less, which unfortunately has caused some of the very memorable ones to be removed. Now, some of the maps that you may think have been removed aren't, they're just seasonal. So if there's a map that's not in the game right now and that's not mentioned in this video, that's probably why. New Camelot was released in the 16.6.0 update. It was a medium-sized map that was available on Teamfight and Deathmatch. This map was actually kind of cool. It had some pretty interesting stuff in it. I like how you can fight in the little rooms instead of just being in the open space. I think this map could suit all playstyles. 3 catters are probably going to be in the open space duking it out. As cool as this map is, it's just not as interesting as a lot of other ones, which is probably why it got removed, but it was a cool map nonetheless. Dangerous Rose was introduced in the 9.2.3 update. It was an extra large map and was available in Teamfight and Flag Capture. This one was actually removed a while ago, like before 16.0 architecture ago, but honestly this is one of the coolest old maps ever. There's like a bright, good good side, and then the other one has demon skulls, and the song that came with it was pretty sick as well. This one's a bit of a fan favorite among veterans, but unfortunately it's gone and it doesn't seem like they'll be bringing it back, which sucks because I'm sure it'll get a lot of traction now. Inside the Code was introduced in the 6.1.5 update. It was an extra large map and only available in flag capture. It's a very large space with very few surfaces to land on, and the very bottom of the map just bounces you upwards. This was honestly one of my favorite maps. If you were a casual, it was a struggle to play here. It was one of Pixel Gun's very few anti-gravity maps. It was pretty solid for a bit, then fluctuated in and out of the game. It sucks to see it gone, man. I really like this one. Science Lab was released in the 5.4.0 update. It was a medium-sized map available on Teamfight and Deathmatch. This one was another classic from Pixel Gun 3D if you couldn't tell by the update it was released in. There were little trampolines spread all across the map that you can jump on, with lasers moving all around as well, so it kept you on your feet. And then the area with the lava pit was really cool too. I remember when I was a new player, I kept falling in there and I got really mad. Now, the map did return in the 18.0 update, but they completely changed the design of it, and then a little while later they returned it to its original form, but then they just removed it again. Again, it's probably one of those maps that didn't get played as much. It was hard to maneuver in some areas, but that's what made it fun in my opinion. But if the general player base didn't like it, then it's understandable to remove it. It sucks to see a classic such as this removed from the game. Aircraft Carrier was released in the 16.1.0 update. It was an extra large map that was available in Teamfight, Deathmatch, and both flag and point capture. There's a lot of stuff on the map. I remember when it first released, I was pretty excited for it. You can go on like the turbine things and like it'll boost you up. A lot of open space too, so it was really good for 3-catters. I actually know that this map just wasn't that popular after a bit. When it released, everybody played on it, but later on it just died out. It would always stay in the yellow to red range of popularity. It's a pretty cool map and you can tell the devs worked really hard on it, but it just wasn't good enough to stick around. King of the Hill was released in the 6.1.5 update. It was a medium-sized map that was in Deathmatch and Teamfight. Now the wiki doesn't state that it's removed, but it also doesn't state that it still exists. I checked the game and it's not there in any mode, so I don't know if the map is seasonal or not. I have no memory of it being released in the last few years, but if anybody has, then let me know. But this was a pretty cool map. It was simple. It was very easy to get kills on this map though, which encouraged people to heavy spam. So if there was somebody with a cluster bomb weapon, it was pretty much over. But due to the open space, it is very 3-cat friendly, so that's nice. This map kind of died off a while ago. Again, as cool and nostalgic as it is, it's just not that interesting. So that's probably the cause of its removal. But I'm sure a lot of the OGs remember having good times on this map. Look, I know a lot of you watching have mobile devices. You're sitting there thinking, man, I wish I can play console games on it. Well, don't I have the answer for you? Let me introduce you to my first ever sponsor, Boosteroid. Boosteroid is a subscription service that allows you to play a wide variety of games, even on weak devices. Your phone could be absolute dog water, but with Boosteroid, you can play that AAA game you've been dreaming to try out. It's like a Flash Games website, where you play the games on their website, so it doesn't affect your hardware. So go on ahead and boost yourself over to their website and sign up today. If you're gonna blow your mom's credit card, at least spend it on something that's worth it, brother. So go on ahead and try it out. Sign up for Boosteroid now, before I do your mom. Weapons are pretty much the most important part of this game. It's quite literally made and broke its reputation, and currently over 1,000 of them have been made so far, with even more being added each update. I'm not here to talk about the issues with the weapons though, I'm here to talk about the ones that were removed. The Lucky Strike was released in the 9.3.1 update. It's a primary with a capacity of 8, fire rate of 7, and mobility of 50. Now the wiki doesn't have the official grade of the weapon, but considering it was just a reskin of The Last Kiss, I would assume it's also epic. This weapon was removed shortly after its release. I'm not entirely sure why. You could argue that it was because it's a reskin, and at the time there weren't really any reskins in the game. I don't remember the existence of this weapon whatsoever, and anybody who owned it at one point does not own it anymore. But yeah, it's pretty much just a recolored Last Kiss. It'd be cool if they made it a skin though for that weapon. The Judge was released in the 12.5.0 update. It was a legendary heavy with a capacity of 1, fire rate of 58, and mobility of 30. It was the first and only weapon to have the rocket control attribute, meaning when you took a shot, your POV would change to the projectile and you can control it. Yes, that also meant leaving your body completely vulnerable. The weapon was actually pretty powerful. It was about a 1 to 2 shot, and it was really fun to use. This weapon got removed when Pixel Gun decided to remove all homing missile weapons, which at the time was kind of understandable because homing missile weapons were pretty annoying, but this wasn't a homing missile weapon. Yes, you could control the rocket, but you could still miss, and the projectile had a certain amount of time before it would blow up. Now, there is a little cosmetic for it in the game, but that's not the same. And it's also annoying that they decided to bring back homing missile weapons, so maybe in the future we might see this weapon make a return, hopefully so, but we'll have to see. The Smart Bullet Bazooka was released in the 10.6.0 update. It was a legendary heavy with a capacity of 4, fire rate of 84, and a mobility of 50. At the time, this was one of the most highly used weapons in the game. You could not play on a small map without seeing at least 5 people using this, and it was pretty powerful too. I remember it being like a 2-shot. I mean, it does suck that it got removed, but I understand why. This weapon was so annoying to go up against. I used it a lot myself too. This weapon also got removed when Pixel Gun decided to take away all of the homing missile weapons. There are little cosmetics that reference it, but you know. Anybody who's played Pixel Gun since 2016 remembers this weapon and how big it was. The Swarmer was released in the 13.0 update. It was a legendary special with a capacity of 12, fire rate of 82, and mobility of 80. Now, many of you probably don't remember this weapon. This weapon was pretty rare even in its existence. Now, it may look familiar, and that's because yes, the sparkling eel looks just like it, and that's because that's a reskin of this weapon. This was another weapon that got removed when Pixel Gun decided to take out all the homing missile weapons. But yeah, this is a pretty rare weapon. If any of you owned it, let me know. The Deadly Candy was released in the 4.4.0 update. It was a rare primary with a capacity of 6, fire rate of 93, and mobility of 65. Now this one kind of isn't removed because it's the steam power, or at least the original version of it. For those who don't know, Pixel Gun used to have a star system in which every time you upgraded it would change the look of the weapon, and the final look of the weapon was the steam power. The same goes for weapons like the Mega Destroyer, Automatic Peacemaker, Powerful Gift, the Laser Cannon, and others. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You can still technically get this weapon, but it won't look like the Deadly Candy. It'll just be the steam power. The Cactus Sword was released in the 4.4.0 update. It's an epic melee with an attack speed of 85 and a mobility of 65. Now, as I mentioned with the Deadly Candy, weapons would have different looks every time you upgraded them, but this one is a little different because it went from the Cactus Sword to the Christmas Tree Sword. That's just a completely different weapon. There's really not much else to this. I'd be surprised if anybody actually owned this weapon, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. The Nanobots rifle was released in the 12.5.0 update. It was a legendary special with a capacity of 6, fire rate of 76, and a mobility of 35. This was also an annoying weapon when it was around. Just hearing the sound of it was incredibly annoying, but this was honestly one of the most used specials in the game alongside the laser bouncer. This also got removed when Pixel Gun removed all the homing missile weapons, but it's a pretty cool weapon. Hopefully they'll bring it back since they brought back the homing missile attribute. The Bee Swarm spell was released in the 11.0.0 update. It was an epic primary with a capacity of 1, fire rate of 88, and a mobility of 65. This was one of the 5 original spell books Pixel Gun released, and it was one of the weapons that new players could get pretty easily. This was the last weapon that got removed when Pixel Gun removed all the homing missile weapons. I'd say this one was much more tame compared to the other ones. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't as strong. I hope they bring it back though, because I like it. That and the poison spell now sucks. I never understood why they just completely removed homing missile weapons entirely. They could have just reworked them to give them manual guidance, and then you wouldn't have to remove any weapons that you made. But yeah, it's sad to see this one go. Gadgets are another crucial part of Pixel Gun 3D. They started off simple, but over time also got a little wonky. Most of them still exist, but there are some that did get removed. Resurrection was introduced in the 11.1.0 update. It pretty much did what it was called. It resurrected you. Pretty much everybody had this. It was pretty annoying to deal with since you'd work hard for a kill only for people to just come back and it not actually count. This also got removed with the homing missile weapons, which was completely understandable. But they kind of brought it back because now there's the deny gadget, which just denies a kill. And sure, you can still get points, and yeah, it's a clan gadget, but that doesn't necessarily make it any better. It's also really annoying that you can use that gadget in duels where you win by having the most kills kills. I don't know, the resurrection was cool, but I completely understood why it was removed, but I just don't like that they pretty much brought it back with a whole new look. The firework was released in the 11.2.0 update. This one was pretty simple. You just placed down a firework and whoever ran across it would get launched into the air. It would explode, but it wouldn't really deal a lot of damage. This recently just got replaced by the flash grenade, which I get it, the weapon is pretty useless, but I personally would have liked it if they just kept it as like a collector's item and just added the flash grenade into the game without taking out the firework, but I'm not losing sleep over the gadget being gone. The pocket harpoon was released in the 17.5.0 update. You just use this to pull yourself away from where you're currently standing. I'm surprised this gadget got removed. I didn't even realize it was gone. I just found out while researching for the other gadgets. It was recently replaced by the grenade teleport, which I guess kind of does the same thing. This wasn't as good as actual pulling towards the target weapons, but it was good if you don't want to use any of them. But yeah, I guess they replaced it with something similar, so it's not really that bad that it's gone. This is just a little honorable mention, but they did remove the uncommon rarity from the game. I can't remember when exactly they did it, but the weapons that had it just became rare. There were also some weapons that were common, but now got replaced with rare as well, leaving the starter weapons to be the only common ones in the game. The most notable one being the future rifle. But yeah, I guess it didn't really make sense to have uncommon and rare at the same time since they both dealt similar damage, but it was something that did exist in the game. Currency is important in any game in general. The way your currency works determines the playability of your game, and Pixel Gun's gone through quite a bit of currencies, and although their main ones have always been coins and gems, there are some that have been removed. Ribbons were released in the 12.2.0 update. They were used in a 4th of July event. You earn them playing various game modes and can spend them only on the event chest. You also could have bought them with gems if you wanted to. They were pretty much just a replacement for keys during the event. This was kind of a one-time thing, but yeah, there's really nothing to it after that. Medals were released in the 13.0.0 update. They were used to buy clan chests. They got removed in the 17.0.0 update and was later replaced with silver. You pretty much just earn these playing game modes. I remember all the top clans having medal requirements in their descriptions. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. The lucky chest was released in the 10.2.0 update. It was a chest that you could open for free every day that had various rewards. And the more gems you spend on the lucky chest, the higher the rewards became. But the biggest draw to this was the weapons that you could get from it. There were 4 weapons that were exclusive to the lucky chest: the golden friend, the candy baton, the power claw, and the spark shark. These were actually the first 4 mythical weapons in the game. Fun fact, on my 3rd lucky chest spin ever, I got the power claw. Over time though, Pixel Gun really screwed it up. You got less and less rewards, and instead of getting the entire weapon itself, you only got parts for it, which was crazy because you still had to spend gems every spin. They eventually removed it because it became completely pointless. They added the lucky board later on, which is just as pointless. It suffered from the same thing where you used to get good rewards, but then they replaced them with worse ones, and they also split the weapons into parts. Pixel Gun has a PhD in fumbling the bag, I swear dog. But yeah, it sucks to see it removed because the devs made it complete garbage. Tickets were released in the 12.0.0 update. You needed these in order to play mini games, which was incredibly stupid. Mini games are a mini part of your game. I don't know why they decided to make an entire currency that you needed to use in order to play them. I remember when these were released, I was pretty annoyed at that. They were removed shortly after, understandably so. Now, you probably remember the look of them, and that's because they were reintroduced as coupons, which you can use to buy weapons instead of spending coins or gems, which is honestly a way better mechanic than what they were originally used for. The original ticket didn't last very long, so let me know if you remember these as well. Shards was a currency that was used to upgrade modules. You can only earn them in chests and raids. The weird thing about it though is that I think you needed to use coins and shards at the same time in order to upgrade your modules instead of shards themselves. Shards were pretty broken though. I got most of my modules to level 5 with shards alone. Hearing how hard it is to upgrade modules now, I'm glad I took advantage of them while I could. But yeah, they were removed, and anybody who still had them were compensated with coins. I'm not really a big fan of shards, nor am I of modules in general, so I don't really care that these got removed. But hopefully those who played the game while they still existed took advantage of them. It was interesting going through all these removed items in Pixel Gun. I know I spent a lot of time bashing the game, but it does feel nice to look back at some of these. But hopefully some that didn't deserve to be removed can make a comeback at some point. I'm sure that'll get people to play it some more.